Good morning folks, or good evening or good afternoon wherever you are. This is Extinction Rebellion, South Australia. My name's Doug and I'm with my mate Tom. We're here at Port Bonython in South Australia. This is an oil loading facility. There's a tanker here behind us that's loading crude oil right at the moment. I'll give you some more info about all of that, but I'll just show you a bit about where we are. So that's an oil tanker being loaded. We're up on this facility. Okay, I'll pan around. Those pipes have got crude oil being pumped in them. And away off in the distance, 2.5 kilometres away on shore, is the processing facility where Santos receives a mixture of liquid hydrocarbons, including crude oil, from the Cooper Basin in northern South Australia. So we'll just come back around. So we're out over the ocean. Santos vehicles. In the distance is the port of Whyalla. And here's Tom with Extinction Rebellion. This is us doing it. Alright, so look, before we go too much further, I'll just acknowledge that we're on the land and waters of the Barngala people. I'm sure this facility was built without any approval from them, without any consultation. I'm sure it was just put in. So we pay our deep respects to the Barngala people. These are the same people who fought the federal government over their push to set up a nuclear waste dump in Kimber, which is a couple of 100 kilometres west of here. Just pointing out that Port Bonython is 400 kilometres northwest of Adelaide in South Australia. I might just see, Tom, do you just want to say a couple of words?
Yeah,
I'm a bit tangled up. We're locked on here. We're locked on with safety chain to a bit of this infrastructure.
Sure.
So Tom will just say a few words. Actually, I should show you who we are, who I am. So here we are.
We made
I'm
it.
Doug and this is Tom.
Hello. We made it.
You want to just say a few words? And
Yeah.
I'll get myself untangled. I got tangled up in there.
Hey folks. Yeah, we're here locked on. Right in front of the big ship which is loading up. Yeah. We're here because we're compassionate and we want to make a difference. We're sick of inaction. We've tried all the usual ways, signing petitions, speaking to politicians. This has been going on for many decades and we know it doesn't work. So we are resorting to non-violent civil disobedience. I'm going to show you, I'm just going to turn the camera around. Here's Doug, when we can focus up. Here we go. There's Doug and his great banner telling us all about how Santos oil and gas is creating climate chaos for us all. Right outside a ginormous ship here in Port Bonython. How are you going there, Doug? You're all sorted. Yeah.
Oh good, I'm untangled.
Okay, good. You want to take back over for a sec?
Yeah, sure.
Awesome.
Alright. Yeah, so as Tom said, this is crude oil being loaded tonight. That's a crude oil tanker. Those vertical things are the loading arms. The three that are slightly bent, the three on the left, they're crude oil loading arms. So they're pumping crude oil into this tanker. They can pump up to 7,500 cubic metres of crude oil per hour, and this ship's going to be here for 36 hours or something, 48, something like that. So it's going to take on an awful lot of oil. Now Santos is a company, like a lot of the Australian petroleum companies, that neglect to tell you that they're dealing in oil. Oil is absolutely filthy. It's got a bad rap globally, and for good reason. It's harmful to nature, really dangerous, and they hide it. So they pretend that all they're doing is pulling out natural gas that of course we all need in our homes. They came up with that bullshit term of natural gas. Natural, there's nothing natural about it. It should be in the ground. It's methane with other toxic chemicals in it. Amazingly enough, this place has got nobody. We saw one vehicle earlier and that's it, and there's 2 parked vehicles here, but we haven't seen a soul. It's almost like these boats pull up and it's like a service station. They just pull up, stick the nozzle in the tank, crank it over for a couple of days, and then drive off, and there's almost nobody here. So that's the other thing that the petroleum industry will tell you, that they're big employers. Well, there's stuff all people around here at all. And we've got governments that are complicit in what's going on. We know that these fossil fuels are dangerous for the planet. So there's a reminder, folks, at 8:30 this morning in Adelaide at Santos headquarters, we're having a snap action. So please head on down to Flinders Street in Adelaide and join us for a snap action. Well, not me and Tom, but join other people. So this oil comes down from Moomba in northern South Australia. It's in the Cooper Basin. It comes down on a pipeline that's 660 kilometres long. It comes as a slurry of all sorts of things. So if we work our way around all these pipes, they're for all different things. The 3 on the left, you can't maybe see that there's 3 there, those 3 have all got crude oil. These 7 here, just down here, the first 4 have propane and the other 3 have butane. The crude oil can also take naphtha. Now those things are not just fossil fuels that cause carbon pollution when they're burnt. They're also used as feedstock for making plastic. So that unmitigated oil spill that's called plastic is happening from stuff like this. And different ships will call in here and they'll take on propane, butane and naphtha. They'll take them off to processing plants, usually in East Asia, and they'll get turned into plastic. They get used for fuels, for cigarette lighters, for camp stoves. They all get burnt. In the end it all gets burnt, apart from the plastic that just washes around the whole planet, killing us. So it's another uncontrolled oil spill. Now I've got a few notes which I'm going to get out in a sec. Just some interesting information about Santos. So they like to portray themselves as a nice, clean, green company selling natural gas. Well, we know that the natural gas is methane. And despite the fact that a lot of that stuff gets burnt and creates carbon pollution, we also know that they have an awful lot of spills. They have leaks that gas gets away from, gets out of pipes. They had in January, I think 2023, one of their gas pipelines exploded, and nobody knows how much gas was lost through that. In 2013, Santos had an oil well in southwestern Queensland that they couldn't stop. It was just overflowing, and they had to fly out some experts from the US to cap it. They didn't know how to cap it. We don't have the expertise here to do that. So there was 240,000 litres of oil, and amazingly enough, not a single government inspection was made. Santos self-reported. They dug up all that soil from around their well, went and dumped it in a hole somewhere and washed their hands of it, and it's all sweet. Where this tanker is now, in 1992, one of the tankers was rammed by a tugboat in this very spot. And it created, it was the fuel tank for the bunker oil that drives the ship. That created a slick that stretched across to Port Pirie, which is on the other side of the Spencer Gulf. Hundreds of birds were covered in oil. Many of them died. A whole lot of mangroves were covered in oil. Many of them died. Government came along and had a look, and they said, oh, well, you know, accidents happen. And that was it. Nothing happened. and I'm getting the dates wrong maybe here, but 2003, a Santos oil pipeline in the port of Brisbane ruptured and 1 million litres of oil was spilled there. Santos was fined $300,000, but no conviction was recorded. 2013 also, there was a large oil spill at one of their wells in the Pilliga. They released a whole lot of toxic water. That land is still toxic today. Santos was fined for that. So you can look all this stuff up. It's all on the internet. Go and Google it. It's all true, all real. So apart from the stuff that we see that gets put into vehicles, gets put into cigarette lighters, gets made into plastic, whatever, they also lose stuff into the oceans, onto the land and into the air. So nobody really knows how much the petroleum industry globally is losing from their production systems. So I'm having a bit of a rant here about Santos. Look, we've come to target Santos. They're the biggest corporation in South Australia. That's why we're going for them. And they are recalcitrant. They have no interest whatsoever in a different business model other than ripping out oil and gas as fast as they can get it out around the world. They've currently got fields in the Timor Sea, they've got stuff in New Guinea, they've got stuff in Alaska, they've got stuff all over Australia. So they're a big company, but they're not alone. We've got others, Woodside, Chevron, BP, Shell, they're all here, and they're all digging fossil fuels out of the ground. I've probably raved on enough. I'm just going to let this sit for a while unless Tom wants to have another word. Just have a little word, Tom, and I'll get a couple of things out.
Absolutely. So here we are, who's just joined us in Port Bonython on Santos facility. We're locked on. Myself and Doug here. As you can see, there's not a soul around.
We might get bored.
We might get bored. We might get bored. Doug has just told us a lot of important information about the company Santos and why we're here today. And look at this, he's even prepared some notes.
Alrighty.
He's ready to run some more. Get ready. We are here as Extinction Rebellion South Australia. Extinction Rebellion is a global movement. Actions have been occurring by members of Extinction Rebellion around the world since 2018 or 2019. And we're part of this movement because we know that it can make change. And we will not let these huge fossil fuel companies continue to defile and destroy our planet. I said it just briefly earlier that we have tried for decades to sign petitions, talk to politicians, and make a difference in all the ways that are legal and we are encouraged to do. But it doesn't work. We've seen that fossil fuel companies continue to lobby governments and do as they please, continuing to destroy our planet and stymie any transition towards renewable energies. So we're doing our bit by participating in civil disobedience, which is an important part of Extinction Rebellion. It is a means of making change through protest that we know has worked throughout history. There are many examples of it, and we are just taking part in a great history of change makers, from Gandhi, civil rights movement, women's liberation, all those things. Great change was created by actions of non-violent civil disobedience. So here we are, continuing that great tradition. Thank you for watching and listening if you're out there. Yeah, it's pretty relaxed out here actually. You know,
We're going to see if they've got a cup of tea on the boat.
yeah, wouldn't that be great? A cup of tea on the boat. Doug's got a good plan there. Too bad we're locked on, we can't, bummer, we're stuck here. Did you want to have your spiel, Doug?
I'll have another little
Go
talk.
for it.
We'll keep sharing it. I'll just turn that around so they can see my ugly dial. Get away from some of these bright lights. Look, it's like daylight out here. It's so bright. All right. So why am I doing this? At a personal level, I used to say I was doing activism for my grandkids to try and make a better planet for them, better future. But more and more it's come to being concerned for my kids, my own children, my beautiful daughters. And now I'm worried for myself. Adelaide's just been through horrendously dry weather. The whole of this sort of southeastern coast, Victoria, South Australia and into Western Australia, has had unprecedented dry weather. But you wouldn't think it. Our governments are just banging their chest and waving their flags in support of the fossil fuel industry and pretending that it's all good. So we've got a desalination plant in Adelaide, and that's what, at my place, that's where my water's coming from. So they think it's all okay. You know, people are on emergency water in the Adelaide Hills because there is no water left. The government's had to put up emergency water stations. And yet there's no fear about it. Nobody's scared. There's no panic. You know, this goes on for another year. We're absolutely rooted. That desal plant will not be able to cope. People are losing animals as we speak. People are losing their plants, they're losing their gardens, they're losing their livelihoods. It is so dry, unbelievably dry. Meanwhile, we know that fossil fuels are causing this dry weather, and they're also causing the horrendously wet weather we're seeing in northern Australia and eastern Australia. Incredibly wet stuff. Sorry, I'm just keeping an eye out to see if there's a vehicle coming. The security will come and do another cruise around shortly. So I'm doing this for my children and also now for myself. It's getting so scary that we actually are really into this climate catastrophe that was predicted. It's coming faster than we ever thought. So I can't bear the thought of my beautiful grandchildren and now 2 great granddaughters. I just cannot bear the thought of what the world that they're going to get because of what we've done to it. So I just feel like I have to step up. I've got no option but to do that. So we've taken this action tonight. We're inviting folks next week. The Santos AGM is on in Adelaide, so head on down there, please. Extinction Rebellion has an action happening there. No doubt we'll have other groups come along and join us. Santos is still showing no signs of changing their business model. They pay very little tax, they employ very few people. As you can see, as Doug showed you here, there's not a soul here. A couple of vehicles, I don't know where those people are. They're probably having cups of tea on the boat. I don't know. So come on down to the Santos AGM, and we need to get the word to those shareholders, and really Santos shareholders drive this business. We sort of blame Santos, but it's Santos as a whole, and that includes the shareholders. They have got some massive institutional investors from Australia and overseas. There's plenty of Asian banks invested in them, Asian investment funds, American investment funds and Australian investment funds. Australian banks, we often go and visit our local Australian NAB and ANZ and CommBank. They all invest in this stuff. They're all shareholders of Santos. Look, I might take a little break now. I need to have a drink, but I'll just get some scenery for you. Absolutely, Kathy, they do. The insurance industry, oh my God, they insure people like this. The insurance industry, they insure them, so they're making money off fossil fuels that way. And they're driving up premiums because of the damage that fossil fuels are doing to the climate. So climate change is great for the insurance companies. They love it. They get it every which way they want to. They just put everybody's premiums up, and they don't care if they're wrecking the climate. They don't give a rat's. As long as they're making profit, which is what this is all about. That's what the stuff in these pipes is all about. Profit, profit, profit. So we're going down to the Santos AGM and we're going to have a go at Yep, we're going to have a go at the shareholders as they're going into the AGM. We also know that some of our dear friends from the Gomeroi Nation in New South Wales will be there. Some of those have been battling Santos for over a decade now. They've been fighting Santos in the courts and on the ground, and we pay our respect to them and to all First Nations people who have been damaged by the fossil fuel industry around the world. Anyway, I'll shut up now. I'll take a break, get a drink. Maybe Doug will just hang on to this for a minute. Oh, you right?
Yep. Yeah. Hey folks, it's Tom here again. Sorry for that. Thank you, Gemma, for your comment. Yeah, as Doug was saying, he feels a need to do actions like this for his family. I think that's a big part of it for all of us. What are we going to say to our children as they grow up and the climate crisis gets worse? As the climate crisis gets worse, we know that there'll be much more difficult access to important resources, to food, to water. That will spark controversy. It will spark wars, all sorts of things, and life will become really difficult. So, as our children grow, what can we say to them that we tried to make a difference? Did we just sign a few petitions? Did we speak to our local politicians? And maybe we stepped it up a bit further. Maybe we put ourselves in the way of industry, of the big companies that are causing these problems. And that's why we're here. That's what we're doing. We're doing it from a place of care and compassion for those around us. Not only our family, but friends, First Nations people, people all over the world. Like the poorest people, the people living in countries in the global south, are the ones that are hardest hit and will continue to be hardest hit by the climate crisis, despite the fact that they were the ones that have had the least impact on creating that crisis. Huge companies like Santos, where we are here today at Santos facility, they ought to be the ones to pay reparations, to help us build new societies in a new world where we don't rely on fossil fuels and we make immediate action on the climate crisis. It is a crisis, it's an emergency. No matter how it's framed in the media, we know from science, we've known from the science for years. Even the fossil fuel companies have known, they've had their own scientists, like BP back in the 70s had its own scientists investigate how CO2 emissions were affecting the planet. And we know that they discovered how bad it was, how it was going to cause global warming, cause big changes in the climate and the weather events that are more extreme because of the change in the climate. And here we are at Port Bonython doing our bit to block that industry, to tell them enough is enough. I'm here with amazing rebel Doug, who's done a really good job of explaining a lot about this facility and what's going on here throughout the live stream. So thank you to Doug. It's actually, on a much more simple level, it's actually quite pleasant up here. Just reflecting on where we are, what we're doing, but just being here in the moment. There's a light breeze. There's a lot of seagulls, maybe some cormorants.
Yeah.
Nice.
Little black cormorants, pied cormorants.
Pied cormorants, little black cormorants, cool.
Silver gulls, Pacific gulls.
Uh-huh.
And,
hang on. Where are you, Duck? There you are.
And right below us, in these waters, this is the largest known breeding area for Australian giant cuttlefish. Every winter they come here and breed. and there just happens to be an oil facility right on top of their breeding ground. So just maybe a kilometre that way is a dive site that tourists use all the time, and yet here we are, we've got this thing happening. And in winter time under here, there are cuttlefish. So super important place, and yet we're just, like everywhere in the world, we just keep putting it at risk by the stuff we're doing. Fossil fuels. And capitalism. It's capitalism. It doesn't care. It doesn't care there's giant cuttlefish down there, unless they can make a buck. Tourism, they'll make a buck. So yep, then it's got value. It doesn't have a value in its own right. Nature doesn't have a value in its own right, not according to capitalism. It's only useful if it can make a buck. Sorry, I'm ranting again. I get the shits with it, I really do.
Oh, that's totally fair. Yeah, it's taken me personally a long time to put myself in a position where I felt really comfortable doing non-violent civil disobedience, and that's come from a lot of reading. Ian's talking about the system of capitalism and how that's affected us, and how that's been the main driving force of this. I've happened to read a whole bunch of books about this to investigate further. One that I highly recommend, and actually found out about through the Extinction Rebellion global website, is a book called Less is More by Jason Hickel. Jason Hickel has written this book all about the system of infinite growth capitalism.
There's a person.
There's a person over there. Goodness, that's the first person we've seen. And how that's basically the root cause of a lot of crises, whether it's the climate and ecological crises, or whether it is other social crises, war, famine. He's done a lot of amazing research, so please check out Jason Hickel if you are curious about the system of capitalism and what alternatives we might have. His book is all about degrowth, which is a way of navigating the future without continuing to rely on this system of infinite growth capitalism, which has got us into this position with the climate crisis and many other issues we see around the world. Doug here is holding this great banner just in case our friends over there on the boat can see. Santos oil equals climate chaos.
And thank you to the banner makers, they did an awesome job. Hang on, I'll get the other ones.
Great, we can have a look at some more banners.
Thank you, banner makers. You're awesome. Stop oil, that's why we're here. Santos pretends that they just deal with gas and that we all desperately need gas. We need more gas. We've got to have gas. But they don't tell you about this shit. It's going onto this tanker right now. Crude oil.
Lots and lots of crude oil going onto this tanker right now, thanks to Santos.
It's Aussie oil. Aussie. There we go. Extinction Rebellion. That's us. Rebel. Join us, folks. Anybody can join. You don't have to do stuff like this. It is exhilarating, but you don't have to do it. You can make beautiful things like this. Anybody's welcome. My friend Tom here is often a videographer at Actions. He does a beautiful job, makes wonderful little films. There's all sorts of roles. It's fun. The people are beautiful, caring, friendly, warm. It's just great. So join us anytime. You're all welcome.
Everyone I've ever met through climate activism, I've thought has been probably the most compassionate and kind people that I've encountered in life, and that's because we're here because we care and we want to make a difference for everyone. We want to make the world a better place. So even if you're just looking for a community of wonderful people who are trying to make the world a better place, and you will find yourself a role and a place to be within that community, to join in with groups like Extinction Rebellion or whomever else it might be that is taking action for the betterment of the world. Doug is doing his best to show our friends on the tanker over there why we're here.
Showing them the error of their ways.
And we know that it is not necessarily the fault of the average worker. We have always called for a just transition for workers in the fossil fuel industry. One of the first banners that was ever made for Extinction Rebellion at South Australia was all about calling for a just transition for the workers. Here's Doug's lock. He's locked on.
And another one.
There's another one over here. Me too. Locked onto the facility. Just in front of the big oil tanker that's taking on lots and lots of oil thanks to Santos. Right here in Port Bonython in South Australia.
Should have brought a thermos, Tom.
True.
For tea time.
Tea and a bicky would be lovely right now.
Or a chair. Chair would have been good.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's quite pleasant out here.
It's amazing.
Beautiful environment for the cuttlefish to come to breed. This big tanker it says no smoking, safety first. If they were really worried about the safety of humans, they would not be putting all the oil on that ship.
Oh, the irony.
Oh, the irony. Can I hand this back to you for a little bit, Doug?
Sure. No worries. Absolutely, Cassie. Quite right. The risk of this ship, this one shipload of oil, the risk that this poses is immense. It's unimaginably large. And despite what they say, I will guarantee you that there's some oil ending up in the water. There's no way that all of this infrastructure, it hasn't got some leaks in it somewhere. Safety first, exactly. Yeah, Tom mentioned the birds. This roadway in front of us is totally covered in bird shit. So the birds like it, or maybe they're just voicing their opinion about Santos. I don't know. They're expressing their opinion. There's bird shit everywhere. So the birds like it. If Santos went away and the oil stopped flowing, the birds would love this. So way in the distance you can see some big tanks, and that's where the processing plant is. Some lights just sort of in the middle of the picture. That's where the processing plant is. That's where the pipeline from Moomba ends up. If there's any gas that comes out of that, and there is, that's put into a pipeline that goes under the ocean over there somewhere. It's a subsea pipeline, goes across to a place called Port Bonython, across the Gulf. And from there it joins up with the pipes to a gas pipe to Adelaide. So the three pipes that we see there, we think it's crude oil tonight. Well, we're not entirely sure, but it's a crude oil tanker, and it's the three loading arms from the crude oil pipes would indicate that it's crude oil. Those pipes also get used to carry naphtha. Naphtha is used as a solvent in a lot of things. We know that when it evaporates, it's dangerous for people, animals, and the climate. Naphtha is also used as a feedstock for plastic. So there's a lot of plastic gets made out of stuff that comes out of here. Look, I've just had a battery warning on my phone, so we'll probably close off soon. Give it another couple of minutes. You got anything else you want to say, Tom? Any last minute comments? We'll keep it going for a bit, but...
Well, not really. I mean, thank you to anyone who's listening, who's watching. Appreciate everyone's efforts, whether they're great or small. And we know that everyone comes from different circumstances and different places, and I come from a place and a life of privilege, and that's why I'm here. I recognise that privilege, and I'm doing my best to leverage it and make a difference.
Yeah, wise words. I think that's where we're all coming from. You said it very well. That's great. All right. Well, I'll just keep the camera going on the big bad ship for a little while. Oh, good point, Kathy. Aluminium smelters in Australia are transitioning to renewables. That's absolutely true. That's in Gladstone, isn't it? So they can do it. Other people can do it too. We don't need this shit. So we've apparently got a shortage of gas. Well, that's a gas crisis created by these guys, fossil fuel industry. The petroleum industry have created that. They just sell it all overseas. Yep, reduce the amount of oil and gas we export. That's the key thing. And no new oil and gas. That needs to stop straight away. Yet we've got governments around Australia who are flag waving for these corporations and encouraging them and enabling them to explore for more and more and more. Opening up new fields, letting them drill, issuing licences.
Like when Australia do that to make a friend. Over here, coming from the boat.
Oh.
Or not?
No?
Not interested.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we don't blame the workers for this. They need work. We have met quite a few people from Santos who come and talk to us. Sometimes they agree, sometimes they don't with what we're saying. And we assure them that we don't blame them. People have to work. But it is possible to transition. But don't let the billionaires make the transition for you. The people of Whyalla, there's a line of lights you might be able to see in the distance. That's a steel town in South Australia. Makes high quality steel. People of Whyalla put their faith in a billionaire, and all he did was bleed the place dry and ran away. Sent the place broke. So billionaires are not going to solve our problems. So I haven't got the answers, but we know that billionaires are not going to do it, and unfortunately we can see in the US that they're on the ascendancy. They have their own global lobby group called the Atlas Network. The Atlas Network has spent the last 45 years setting up right-wing libertarian think tanks around the world, and they have got into governments around the world. They are controlling media, they control a lot of narratives, and they have caused all sorts of problems for people for the sake of profit. They don't care about people. Wages are going down because of those people. Life is really hard because of the Atlas Network, and they represent the big corporations and the billionaires. The big corporations and billionaires are only interested in profit. Actually, my phone's going a bit funny, so I'm probably going to finish here now, folks. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Awesome job tonight. See you later, folks. We'll see you out on the streets. Come and join us. Bye for now.